I stopped believing in manifestation, and I think you should too if you're actually wanting to create your dream life. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in the act of manifesting, creating something tangible, co-creating with the universe and making something that is living and breathing. But I think manifestation has become such an algorithm favorite where we have 300 million people telling us exactly how we're meant to get the things that we want. And this is great because it feeds a human need. We all want to have that feeling of fulfillment when we get the things that we dream of. But there's one thing that I feel all of this is missing, and that is that just because you think you want something, it doesn't mean it's your sole purpose to experience that thing. But we live in a very capitalistic society where it is very driven by obtaining material things. Is I want to have that car, I want to have the beautiful partner, I want to have, this amount of followers on Instagram. All of these desires are very tangible and they're very outside of ourselves. And so manifestation feeds really into this narrative that we can have anything and everything we want. And I'm sorry that I'm the one who's going to have to break it to you, but unfortunately, we are not wiser than whatever God, the creator, universe, the light, whatever you want to call it, has in store for us in this lifetime. If you've ever struggled to manifest, if you've ever struggled to create your dream life and you don't understand why you're doing all of the things but you're not seeing results, in this video, I'm going to break down how you can use energetic alignment to remove resistance in your life and allow the things that your soul wants to experience, the things that your heart is meant to feel and have in this lifetime to come to you with flow. If you're new here, my name is Maika Gabriela and I'm a human design leader, a deconditioning expert and the founder of the Transformational Human Design Certification, and I have supported thousands of people to align with their dream life. We now have a free new members area called the Uprising Club, where you will receive so much free goodies and information that I just really invite you to join us. It's a beautiful, thriving community of like-minded souls, and you might meet your fractals there. So join. Welcome to the Human Design Portal, your safe space to decondition so that you can align with the right people, opportunities, and chances. In this video, I'm going to break down how you can let go of the constraints of manifesting and the guilt of not manifesting the life you want so that you can actually learn to align energetically to attract what is meant for you in this lifetime. Let's dig deep. So here's my story with manifesting. I was an avid manifester. I would do the lists and I would do the pre-programming and I would do the visualizations and I would do the mood boards and I would do the gratitude journals. Don't even get me started on the gratitude journals. Okay, sorry. But here's the thing. Most of these things made my pattern of lack and low self-worth emerge. So instead of there being an actual healing experience, an expansive experience, what happened was that I had this list that I wanted to manifest and things were not manifesting. And that just fed into my subconscious belief about myself that I'm not worthy, that I'm not lovable, that something's wrong with me. Why are other people having the life they dream of and nothing's happening for me? And this is actually where the magic happened. The moment that I discovered my human design, the moment that I understood my energetic authenticity, I realized that I was constantly forcing things, that I was trying to fit in within the beliefs and the parameters that my conditioning had told me I needed to be in order to feel loved and accepted. And I think that this is a really important step in understanding why your manifestations maybe aren't coming to fruition or why you're feeling frustrated with your dream life not looking the way you want it. Maybe, and this is a shocker, like this is controversial, maybe that's not the life you're meant to be living. I wanted to be a model since I was 14 years old. Maybe a bit older, because I remember at 14 I was like, that's superficial, I don't want to do that, but maybe secretly I actually wanted to do that. And I worked so hard, and I started modeling at the age of 14, and my parents didn't want me to do it. Then when I was 21, they could no longer say anything, so I tried to do it on my own. And there was so much resistance. There was so much frustration. I didn't feel recognized. I felt recognized, but somehow also I didn't have the patience, whatever. I was a mess. Things weren't happening. I didn't understand why my lifelong dream, the thing that I wanted my whole life, was so full of resistance, why I wasn't supported, why things weren't happening the way it would happen for other people. And at some point I got sick. I couldn't maintain the weight that I needed to have to be a model, and my whole world crumbled, to be honest, because I had been working as a model for like 3-4 years, and I had PCOS, and I just couldn't maintain the weight. I was raw vegan, and it got so strict, whatever. It was all a mess. And so I kind of like got kicked out of the agency, and I fell into a very deep hole of depression that I like self-medicated with drugs, which was not a great idea, ladies and gentlemen. And my whole world got turned upside down because it was this dream that I had since I was 14 years old. Now I look back at it and I'm like, wow, that's so crazy, Micah. How did you ever think that that was your job? Like, that's crazy. I look at people in the industry now and I'm just like, oh my God, thank God that didn't work out, because that would have been so wrong for my nervous system, so wrong for who I am as a person and what works for me, what doesn't work for me. But I didn't know that back then. I, was brought up in a situation where I had to be the model child. And so I thought that if I'm the model child, if I'm the model woman, then I will be loved, and then I will be respected, and then I will be seen, and then my needs will be validated. I thought that's what I had to be in order to feel a sense of belonging and love. And I just realized the more that I got immersed in that world, and, I had a certain success as a model, and I made a lot of money, and I met a lot of incredible creative people that I, enriched my life in so many levels, and I got to travel the world, and I was in a very affluent spaces. There was a lot of really incredible things that I learned, especially at such a young age. And then there was a point where I just couldn't continue to move forward. There was just like blocks from all sides. I often get asked, like, Micah, how do you know when you're meant to push, and how do you know when you're meant to give up? Like, how do you know when that is just not your path? And my experience from having hit my head against the wall several times in my life has been that there is no light. There's nothing to hold on to if it's not meant for you. And so in the fashion industry, I really saw that. Like, I hit my head so hard, like my body was crumbling. I was so unhappy, so sad. Like, the energy was crazy, to be honest. At the end of my career, like, I got involved into a car accident on my way to the airport. Like, there were so many things happening. It was crazy intense. And with human design, even if there's been moments of hardship, there's always been light from which I could grab, from which I could continue to go on, and it has always been lessons that have asked me personally to grow. So I really see such a resonance with personal and business growth, especially if it's your own business. And so I really thought that my life was over. Like, I didn't know all of my youth, all of my teenage years, all of my 20s. I focused on being on a diet, on, knowing all of the things to be in the fashion industry. That was my biggest dream. And when I got there, not only did I realize that the people were backstabbing, the competition was brutal. The worst for me, I think, honestly, as a quad left, is that you never know anything. Like, they could call you at 4 p.m. and be like, in 2 hours you have to be in the airport and you're flying to a job. And I would get so stressed. I'm like, no, wait, I didn't plan this. Or, oh, after the shoot, you go directly to the airport and you have you're still in the clothes and with the makeup and the people taking the last pictures, and your car is waiting for you to get you to the airport. And I'm just like so stressed out. That lifestyle is not my kind of lifestyle. And, I have a Sagittarius moon, so I like adventures, but, that was a bit too much, too intense. The constant rejection. The vibe of the people, to be honest, I feel like the fashion industry specifically is such a place for people with issues continue to have issues because it serves the industry. Like, it's okay if you have a drug problem, just do drugs 24 hours so you'll work more, and then you'll be the perfect fashion assistant or, whatever, stylist or whatever it is. So the same with the girls. Oh, you have an eating disorder. That's great. You fit into the clothes. Like, fantastic. We're just going to pretend we're not seeing it. And I hope things have changed by now in the industry, although I don't think they have changed that much. But I just, now that I had this incredible life that's so much better than anything that I could have ever imagined, the idea that that was my only option in life sounds crazy to me. But at that time, it was the biggest pain I ever experienced. All my desires, all my feeling of belonging, who I thought I had to be in order to finally feel loved and accepted, crumbled when I was no longer able or requested to work as a model. And so that put me in a very, very deep, dark hole. But what I realized was that we cannot manifest the life we want because we just think we want that life. We have certain beliefs that have been put on us from our environment, from the people in our life, from our parents, from society, that we think we have to fit a certain standard to have a sense of belonging. And all of our personality, all of our character becomes part of that in order to survive, in order to feel loved, in order to feel the sense of belonging, which is so important because it is linked to survival as well. And so the moment that I was forced to let go of that life that I thought I wanted to manifest, and I was brought down to my knees and I was crying and I was desperate and I was praying and I didn't know what my life would look like. And I went through really deep hole of self-loathing and low self-worth and just being completely lost. The moment that I surrendered to that and I discovered that I am a projector in human design, I started to really have this newfound, I really call it miraculous healing at this point, this newfound love and empathy for who I am actually and my needs, not who I have to become for other people to meet my needs, but actually understanding what my own needs are and meeting them. And so the moment that I discovered my energy type, I really feel like something lifted from my shoulders. This heaviness lifted. I started to see things more clearly. And the more that I started just letting go of who I'm not and allowing who I am to shine and polishing the diamond in the rough of my authentic essence, and I started using my human design strategy, and I really understood my value through what I'm able to contribute, my life just enhanced in such an incredible way. It was really like a 180 degree of change in how I feel, the amount of success that I was able to manifest, the flow, the magnetism, the respect, the admiration, the recognition, just my health improved immediately. It's crazy to see how the moment that I stopped trying to manifest the life I thought I wanted and I surrendered to God, the creator of the universe, and just allowing me to be me and bringing into my life what my soul is actually meant to experience, that everything suddenly changed for the better. And that is my number one issue with the list. I think writing down your intentions is great. I think having a certain guideline in your life can be of big value. What I've noticed, which is, I think is another of the things that is like the issue with manifestation, where I think alignment just brings so much more ease and flow, is this gap, right? When we're manifesting, we're constantly manifesting from the place of lack. It's from the place of what I don't have. It's from the place of what I'm missing. It's from the place who I'm not. And that again is continuous pain that's, reinforcing your own limiting beliefs. And so the beauty of alignment, especially using human design and energetic authenticity, is that it comes from a place of I am being authentic. I am living my strategy. I am fulfilling my own destiny by showing up in my most authentic version of self. I am tapping into my gifts. I am tapping into my talent. I am, embodying who I've come to be when I'm living up my profile in human design. I am actually constantly contributing. I am giving my knowledge, my love, my capacity, my intention to the world by showing up authentically. And so we're moving from a place of abundance mindset already. We're moving from a place of high self-worth already. And this is another thing that I feel is going to be super controversial. And that is the low self-worth, high self-worth paradigm. And so the high self-worth, low self-worth paradigm to me is complex because, there's parts in human design and especially manifestation and new age psychology where it's like, oh, you're worthy just because you exist. And even though that's really beautiful, and I think it's important when we're talking about just like basic human rights, that everybody should have the capacity to access human rights, it is not the reality of our experience. Your experience, no matter if somebody tells you like, honey, don't worry, you're worthy just because you exist, that doesn't mean you feel worthy just because you exist. Most of us struggle with self-worth. Why? Because we were not loved and curated in an environment where whole authentic self was able to be seen, right? And so what happens is that, and this is where the deconditioning comes in human design, is that, you know, your soul knows exactly who it's come to be, what experience it's meant to have, and what chances and opportunities it will experience in this lifetime. And all of these things, they're kind of like in a holding pattern. And your aura is the bridge. Your aura, it holds the password to connect the things that are meant for you into your reality. But what happens is that because when we were small and whole and we showed ourselves authentically, that authenticity wasn't accepted by our caretakers in our environment. And so in order to feel loved and survive, we push aside or push down or separate from parts of our whole authentic self that feel dangerous. And so we start feeling that emptiness inside. And that emptiness inside, we try to fill it through success in our work, through, you know, intense but toxic relationships, through material things, substances, to kind of fill that emptiness we feel inside, instead of understanding that we can actually access and, you know, bring back that wholeness within us and fill us up from the inside out by bringing back those parts of ourselves we deemed shameful to embody, and actually letting them be seen and letting them be loved in a new environment and curated also by our highest self, by our adult self, no longer acting from that little child trauma. I invite you to join me on the 3-day live event called Are You the Chosen One? That is going to be happening on the 30th of September, 1st and 2nd of October. It's 3 days, 90 minutes approximately, where we sit down together. It's magical, it's cosmical. You will have a cellular activation, and there's so much good information that we're going to channel together those days. So join me in the link below and claim your spot. Don't miss out. I do this once a year. It's awesome. It's incredible. I love it, and you're going to love it as well. Understanding that we need to have this authentic expression of self in order to tap into our gifts is just such an incredible, beautiful little piece of the puzzle, to understand that, you know, people can tell you, oh, you are worthy just because you are, but that's not the actual experience that we're having. And so the way that you will start feeling worthy is by tapping into your energetic authenticity, is by applying your energetic purpose. Because it means that just by being who you are, you're actually of worth. Maybe you are not worthy when you're not showing up authentic, and that's the feeling that we get. We know something's missing, so we're not feeling worthy because we're not tapped into our energetic purpose or our purpose in this world. And I truly believe that our purpose, like people are obsessed with like, what's my purpose? Micah, tell me my purpose. Can you find my purpose in my chart? No, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how it works. Like your purpose is so much more than your job, right? We discussed this in some other previous video, but it's really important to understand that when you actually have the capacity to tap into your authenticity, you are in purpose. You are thriving in your purpose. You are contributing every time you talk to somebody, every time you look at somebody, every time you do something for somebody. This is not to be confused with people pleasing, right? Because I remember I had this conversation with somebody, they're like, yeah, but I'm healing from people pleasing. This is not people pleasing. You showing up authentically from giving space and contributing to the world with your authenticity is not people pleasing. People pleasing is actually a pretty selfish mechanism that is trying to control the other person, even though it comes from a more victim perspective. And I can get more into depth in that because I know a lot of people struggle with people pleasing. And the first time that I heard that that's actually manipulative, I was like, oh, wow, I had never thought about it that way. But let's get back to the piece of worth and self-worth. And if you have thoughts on this, please leave your comments below, because this is such a fascinating theme for me, especially in the spiritual wellness community, where everybody's like, you have worth just because you exist. No, you have worth when you show up authentically, because then you're in your purpose. And when we're not in our purpose, we have low self-worth because we're not contributing in the way that we know that we're meant to contribute. And so I hate to break it to you again, But maybe the reason you're not feeling worthy is because you're not tapping into the full scope of capacity that you have to offer to the world. I feel like this is going to be the most controversial video I've ever done, because I'm basically saying nothing that people have been saying for the last 5 years is something that actually has applied to me. But I'm going to share with you what has helped me. And this is another one that I think is going to like stir up some feathers, and that is gratitude. So gratitude is scientifically proven to elevate our frequency. Gratitude is one of the highest resonance that we have. Gratitude is one of the most beautiful feelings I've ever experienced, and I can just like soak it up in my heart, and my heart feels warm and expanded, and it's wild, right? But when we intellectualize these processes by trying to like favor an outcome, right? Like write a gratitude journal. I remember in my 20s, and now that I think about it, it's crazy that I've been like into this stuff for like over 10 years. So when I was in my 20s, I started writing a gratitude journal in the present moment, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I was like, I am so grateful to have the Chanel bag. I swear that's the stuff that I used to write. Okay, I was 20. Leave me alone. I was 20. But I think what is so wild about that is that I never in my life was so angry at the world and so pissed off and so miserable and so like bitter as during the time that I was trying to write my gratitude journal. I could not for the life of me connect to the actual feeling of gratitude. And I think it's because maybe I lack maturity, but also because I hadn't experienced it, you know. I couldn't feel a heart expanding love in my heart because I had a roof over my head. Like if I was trying to find gratitude for these things, it felt so fake, it felt so contrived, it felt just actually tapping into how much I didn't have it. And so if you've ever felt this way with gratitude, or you don't know how to feel gratitude in your life, I want to tell you that you're not alone, and that that's okay, and that that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you don't appreciate stuff. It just means that we need to reframe and change how gratitude looks like and how you can connect to gratitude. And so what really happened to me is the moment that I was able to align with my authentic energetic purpose, and I was able to just be me, and I was starting to be seen and accepted and recognized and loved for being me, that was when I had the biggest feeling of gratitude. And so, you know, this idea of gratitude comes from, I'm going to write these things down, I'm going to have this journal, I'm going to connect to gratitude, and then my outside circumstance will change. And if you're not feeling a sense of, you know, heart expanding emotion in your heart, I want you to connect to that feeling no matter where you find it. So I really connected to that when I started having my first readings booked as a human design reader. I remember the first 50 euros I ever made have been the best 50 euros of my life. Nothing has felt as good, I mean maybe, but nothing has felt as good as those first 50 euros that I made, like delicious. But if that is, you know, like when you get a text from your bestie, or when your dog comes like, you know, throwing themselves on you, or when, you know, somebody says something beautiful to you, or maybe it is recognition in your work, maybe it is something sweet that your child is saying, or maybe you're watching, like one of my favorite memories to connect to that feeling of gratitude is watching my daughter laugh, right? Like a child-free laughter that's just like unhinged. Whatever brings you that little kind of like sunshine in your heart, I want you to try to connect to that feeling and extend that feeling as much as you can, because we want to kind of like reprogram your neural pathways in the brain for that to be an experience you're going to have often in your life. And so you can kind of trick your body instead of trying to trick your mind by writing a gratitude journal and faking happiness or faking gratitude. I recommend that you do things that actually connect you to gratitude. So for me specifically, that has been Kundalini yoga. When I started doing Kundalini yoga, when I started doing my human design business, it actually like, it just made me feel like a little child that was like doing witchy things. And I felt like I was laughing my ass off about my own ridiculousness. And that was so great because it connected me to my inner child. But I was just tapped into that incredible experience I was having within, right? Out of nowhere. The other thing that I incredibly recommend is running. I know that right now it's really trendy to do weight training, and obviously do weight training because, muscle is great for preventative health and all of these things. But there's something about the dopamine rush of running that is really important, that is really transformative, that connects you to God and beyond. Microdosing on mushrooms, I think, is pretty solid way to connect to that. But again, it doesn't have the effort, right? So this is one of the things that I think is most important. There's a reason we get dopamine. Dopamine is a reward system in our body for making an effort. And so when we learn that we get recognition, we get a recompensation for our effort, it actually helps us to become people that are highly motivated, that have discipline, that have the courage to do the difficult thing. It makes us an exceptional human to understand that we get reward when we overcome something difficult. That's why the dopamine, right? We could take it from just like the sports, but I like to really bring it into everyday life, into building character and making exceptional human beings. So if you thrive, or if you desire to be an exceptional human being, which will definitely help your manifestation process, don't go for the cheap dopamine hacks like, scrolling on the phone. But I feel like if you've never heard I love you from your parents, or if you've been through intense trauma, or, you've been through intense neglect, or you're just coming out of a heartbreak, I think something like microdosing on mushrooms could be very beneficial. But unless you're an extreme case, I would say work your ass off to get that dopamine hit. It will connect you to gratitude to be alive, gratitude to be able to breathe, gratitude for your body being able to move. And then extending that feeling, like connecting to that feeling again and again and again, because it reprograms your mind and it elevates your frequency. And that is how you will attract the right people and opportunities and chances into your life. If you've been trying and pushing and trying to manifest your dream life and it's not working, I really recommend, my highest recommendation of all of them is understanding your human design. And to me, it was that missing piece. And I have been struggling for 15 years plus to find the kind of success that I have now. And it's been absolutely mind-blowing to see how that has manifested thanks to human design. And the reason I don't like to call it manifesting is because of all of the previous points that I shared with you. But what I think is so magical about alignment is that alignment brings you into this understanding that you are not fully in charge. You are just in charge of showing up as the best version of yourself, as making the best decisions, as, coming from a giving place, moving through triggers, understanding life's lessons and doing your best on learning through them. But there's an element to surrender where we need to let go of that idea that we have an actual control of the outcome of our life. I think we do have control over the outcome of our life when we're focusing on ourselves and on being giving, on serving the world, on serving others through our authenticity. But besides that, we cannot force things to come into our life if they're not meant for us in this lifetime. And I had, this very heartbreaking story that I shared with you at the beginning. And I'm sure that you will have a version of that as well, right? It can be, like this idea of wanting to have the perfect white picket fence family and then going through a separation. All of those big ideas that we have for who we want to be in our life to look like, those are so painful because who we think we want to be versus the reality of our life get conflicted. And I think that's when we have the dark night of the soul. That's when we go through depression. That's when we hit rock bottom, because we need to open up and let go of that conceived notion of what the right life is for us. And that can be very scary, because that feeling of belonging, love, and safety, and I know I'm repeating this, but it's so basic and so important to understand for us humans, comes into play. The moment that you're able to let go, the moment that you stop attaching story to what you think what is happening in your life and what it says about you is nothing but something happening for you, you will see how life gets so much easier, so much more in flow, and you'll start experiencing such a beautiful feeling of abundance and of gratitude and expansiveness because you're opening up the space for the things that your heart is actually resonating with to come into your life. And so, nowadays on YouTube, you can learn anything about everything, anytime, anywhere in the world, constantly. Whatever you want to know, you've got it. But there's one thing that we're just starting to grasp, and that is the energetics of things. And so when you start what your energetic authenticity is, when you start using your strategy in human design, it's such a huge piece that you stop moving into a direction that is not aligned with your path, and you allow your energy to actually guide you to where you're meant to be going, that there is just this whole new world of possibilities waiting for you. If you've enjoyed the content of this video, please share with anybody who you think could use this information. Like, subscribe. Seeing your comments just lights up my heart, my soul. If you have any more questions or want to share your own story with human design, manifestation, or what you've been through, please. I read every single comment, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you to be here. Remember, I don't care what anybody says. I love you.